Right back over here.
You were doing dipping.
Oh, somebody else slugger the mic.
Hey.
He asked, what's your favorite artifact?
I heard, what's your favorite artifact? Saul's eyebrows.
What's your favorite artifact?
These are actually trimmed. Because I'm in the real world. But
because he donated hair to a charity. Locks for Love. Yeah. They made my marking in Spartacus out of his True story. I was entirely unprepared for that.
You were unprepared. What about my eyebrow?
Why do all these people know what a marking is? That's what I want to know.
This is what we like in town, man.
Dallas and Merkins go together.
It's a new marketing slogan.
My favorite artifact, I think, was Abe Lincoln's hat, because when Pete put it on, he had an irresistible urge to free Mrs. Fredman. I was like, really? We're gonna go with it?
Did they use it? Did they use that line?
Huh?
Did they use the line?
Yeah.
They did use the line.
And I just love the fact that, you know, people, you know, that they're able to go, oh man, this show brings with it so much goodwill that this doesn't cross any lines, you know? It's just, it's innocent, and it's to bring people together, as opposed to so much stuff out there that just pushes us away from each other. So to me, I was just like, wow, what a great show I'm a part of.
You know, whatever you feel, I mean, it's true, we really were a family, but it came down from the writer's room, because Jack Kenny, who was the showrunner and head writer of the show for 99% of its life, created an atmosphere in the writer's room that was very similar, in a way, to the atmosphere that was created on set. And one of the reasons he was able to do it, technically able to do it, as well as spiritually able to do it, is because he had such an amount of time beforehand. He insisted with the network and the studio that the writers have 4 months of prep writing time. What that allowed him to do, for those of you that are interested in the technical sides of this, because the technical sides get transferred to the heart side, and without one you don't have the other. It's symbiotic. And so with 4 months of prep in the writer's room, there's 10, 12 writers, working, breaking stories and figuring this out, it allowed him, by the time we were shooting, to actually come from LA to Toronto and be on the set while things were going, because otherwise, if you have a short amount of time, or if you're doing, for example, I did a show I really, really like. I did a double episode of Person of Interest recently. It was a really, really well done show. It's really beautifully written. It's great science fiction with great acting and great writing. But the problem is with that is it's 24 episodes a year or something like that. They have no time. The people, Jonathan Nolan can't come to New York like Jack Kenny was able to come to Toronto. So on the set of a Person of Interest, it's very difficult for actors to change stuff because the writers aren't there. It's difficult. You have to make calls, you need permission. It makes sense because they've worked so hard on their
time difference as well. It's 3 hours, they're not awake.
Right. So here's Jack. Hello? So here's Jack on the set and able to work with us and able to change stuff on the fly. So if Eddie's making stuff up, it's funny. You go, no, do that. Let's do that. That's funny. Let's walk that tightrope between absolute absurdity and fart jokes and a moment where somebody's going to die. And let's do it in the same sentence. You know? Let's do it in the same sentence and see what happens. And we weren't always successful at it, but he was willing to try it. That atmosphere that he created, helped to create on the set, and also because it was cast right, which is just an accident of fate. But that happened. And we got along. Not always, though. And some of our troubles with each other were also translated onto the sets.
Well, that's why it is like a family, because, you know, with your friends, you choose people that you're completely compatible with. With your families, you're thrown together with these people, and that's what a film set is like. And so that's why it's so much like a family, because you end up loving these people that you might not necessarily otherwise hang out with, you know, and it's amazing, isn't it? That's what makes you grow.
You'd hang out with me, though, right?
Anyway, he created that that same atmosphere with his writers. He was a dad for his writers. He made sure that every single writer in the first season, he paid for them himself. The studio network did not pay for the writers to come watch their own shows be shot. And then he insisted and fought for the network and studio to pay for the writers who got to come to Toronto and watch their episodes be done so they could learn and grow and see what happens as a blueprint. It's not written in stone. And that they could see that it could change. And that actors occasionally could really hurt the material, but not always. Sometimes actors actually make it better. It transcends itself. And when you see that, you start to open up as a writer. So that whole atmosphere, which is an unusual thing, it's lightning in a bottle, believe me. When that happened on all levels, it happened on all levels, from the network, otherwise they wouldn't have agreed to the 4 months that he needed, to Jack's being able to go from that world to ours, and he was the key. He was the key, he was the artifact. Jack Kenny was the artifact that made Warehouse 13 alive and beautiful.
He also, what I thought was really great, what has never happened on any other show that I worked on, he had us in privately with the writers, and he just said, okay, so what are you into? I mean, I've known Jack for a long time, but he was like, what do you want your character to be like? You know, and I was like, well, you know, I love comic books, and I wrestled, and I was, I think, 11 years sober at the time, like 10 years sober, and I was like, I'd like him to be a former U.S. Marine. You know, I think that's important. I just like to acknowledge that, you know, so the character became, you know, it was written around who we are as people.
Or your values and yeah, what you love.
We have time for one more question. It is you. Make it a good one.
No pressure.
Especially no pressure, since I was going to ask what made Warehouse 13 such a special series in terms of being the only science fiction series to actually have a good out gay character and actually portray it well. But I think you just addressed that, so okay. Will Jinx actually get a little on-screen PDA?
Whoa, are we on? Obviously this is a subject that is so close to my heart because some of the most interesting and loving and talented people I know love people of the same sex, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's friggin' beautiful. I was so excited when Jack told us about this new character, but it was such a journey to find Aaron. The role of Steve Jinx, like the role of Claudia, was originally written for an Asian actor. And so I read with 3 or 4 different options for the role of Steve in LA, and they were all great, but none of them were Aaron. And the network wouldn't sign off on any of them, and what it came down to was we were like a week before shooting or something, and we just had to find somebody who was in Toronto and the right age. And I don't know how Aaron came up, but Jack had lunch with Aaron and just sort of gauged if he would be good to work with. And Aaron is an angel from heaven. I mean, I feel like these guys are probably sick of me gushing about Aaron so much, but he's so, you know, he came in at, I mean, one of the most chaotic times, which is the first episode of a brand new season. It was, you know, obviously the premiere.
What season?
It was season 3. And his first day was chaos, and I remember him being very wide-eyed about it, but he kept up, and we did our best to make him feel welcome, and he just took it and ran with it. And I don't think that anyone else could have made Steve Jinx as full and interesting and human as Aaron did. And I know that it was important to him. It wasn't his first time, you know, bringing life to a gay character, and he loved it, you know. And he's not gay, he's marrying a really beautiful girl this year. I mean, they've been together for a really long time, and that has nothing to do with it. You know, it's just, I hope that one day we won't have to talk about this like it's some new and fancy thing that we're breaking new ground on. It's an honor that we got to, but one day I hope that we can just treat this like everything else. You know?
I thought it was important also the way Aaron, you know, Aaron never leaned into the gayness of it.
He didn't play character.
Oh, wait. Except So they'll get a little leaning in the last 6 episodes of season 5.
Yes, there's a little leaning, but
He gets doubled, and there's. Not a huge spoiler.
But you know, remember the scene where Pete wants to take off his shirt for Jinx, and Jinx is like,
You all know it.
And you know, Jack Kenny, our exec producer, who Saul's been talking about, he's gay, and he just said to me, he goes, Eddie, I want Pete to be the coolest straight guy that I've never met. Like, Pete is just like, hey man, I don't care what you are, or who you are, or what you like, or what you don't like. We're friends, and that's all that matters to me. I don't care what color you are or your sexual orientation, because it really shouldn't matter.
No.
And
that's the world we should be living in, and you know, hopefully at some point it will be like that across the board. But right now, we can make a television show and make that our world.
Yeah,
And hopefully people will aspire to that, and you know, and if anyone does, then we've done a great job, and you know, we're very lucky to be part of that.
It maybe causes, if it just causes one person to go, wait a minute, you mean I don't have to be afraid that if I do that with a gay person, I'm going to become gay, or, you know, like, you know, some people just don't think that way, and if we can get people to just change the way they think in regards to some things, maybe, you know.
What was kind of cool about it was that there wasn't any pontification on the show. So nobody had an agenda to make the world better or tolerant. It wasn't that we always had a sense of humor about it, because Jack, although, you know, I think, you know, he has quite a political conscience, and he's very opinionated when it comes to politics in this area, whether it's gay marriage. Yeah, he's got a great sense of humor. So the show didn't really push anything down anybody's throat in terms of a political agenda or a socio-political agenda. It just created a person. You know, he's an FBI agent who really his biggest problem was that he was an FBI agent, and kind of like what your problem was, and he was in this weird warehouse, and he happened to be gay. That was just incidental to the issue. Story-wise, it's incidental to the issue, and also, so that what happens, I think, especially since we're a family show, is yes, there is an agenda. So what happens is an agenda that there is a right-wing agenda that would say that that's a conspiracy, and I've read stuff about this, so that if something is done with a sense of humor, like on our show, if there is a character that's just accepted as gay, there are people that say, well, that is a family show. What you are doing is you are indoctrinating children to believe that there's absolutely nothing wrong with being gay, which if you watch, you know, interviews from people who are on Duck Dynasty, you would say there's something wrong with that, or perverted. So that we suddenly get this agenda laid on us that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist, it's not what we intended. But it is, and to pretend that it's not, we're not going to pretend this isn't a deeply controversial issue. We are not living in a world where that is easy, or for anyone, especially when it comes to how they're educating their children. And, you know, so it was a daring thing to do. One would think, why is it daring? It's 2012 when we first introduced Steve Jakes. Why would this be a daring thing to do? To just make it incidental that he's gay, because there's nothing wrong with it. No, but there is a large section of society that would believe that I'm not letting my kids watch this show anymore. That's the way it is, right?
He left me once. Won't let him get away with it again today.